Good Sunday morning, everybody, and welcome to WGN-TV Political Report. I'm Paul Lisnek. We begin with a developing story out of Springfield this morning, a Saturday surprise as Illinois Democrats drop a revised version of their congressional maps. Now, the first set left lots of people, including sitting Congress members, scratching their heads. But this new second draft, it's likely to elicit more than a few complaints as well. Let's take a look. Republicans were pitted against each other in the 12th and 16th districts. And closer to Chicago, Democrats carved out a second Latino majority district and kicked Marie Newman into a potential primary with fellow Democrat Sean Casten. And rumored to be mulling over a run for governor, Rodney Davis was mostly left alone with his potential Democrat challenger drawn into her own district next door. But even Governor Pritzker admitted last week nothing's final until it has his signature on it.
My sense is that the map that was put forward was not intended to be a final product. It was intended to be for discussion. Lots of people have discussed, as we've seen. They've seen the maps and wanted to make changes, both the current members of Congress from both parties, as well as members of the legislature who are going to be voting on it. So I have not seen, what changes might be made, but I have no doubt at all that, these things in the legislature, this is how the legislature works.
And if that weren't enough, there's a similar battle happening at City Hall this week. The council will meet tomorrow, and things are sure to get heated with several big issues coming to a head. A coalition of Latino aldermen are staging their own battle over new ward boundaries. Starting tomorrow, that group will push for a map that takes seats away from the council Black Caucus and accounts for the city's growing Latino population. The remap fight happening as Mayor Lori Lightfoot looks to shore up enough votes for her $17 billion budget. And a legal battle continues with city workers over a mandate to report their vaccination status. Well, I spoke with Black Caucus Chairman and 28th Ward Alderman Jason Ervin about all of this and more. Alderman, good morning. Lots to talk about. Let me start with vaccination. A lot of tension between the city and obviously safety, public safety departments, police and fire. What is your sense of the program of putting folks who don't report on a no-pay status? And what are you hearing from commanders and officers in your ward?
Well, what we're hearing is that everyone wants as many people available as possible to be out on the streets to deal with the public safety challenges that exist in our city. However, at the same time, we do need to make sure that everyone is safe in that process. We continue to have officers that are sick and individuals that are dying in these communities from this dreaded disease. So it's our hope that everyone, gets vaccinated, reports their status, and do what is asked of them.
Just, there's obviously vaccine hesitancy among people. Are you vaccinated? Are you able to work with that and talking to members of your ward who are fearful?
Yes, no, I'm vaccinated, fully vaccinated. I have been since February. And I believe it's important that we do this because it's the only way that we're going to be able to return to some sense of normalcy in our communities. I do know that some people are hesitant. However, the information and the more data that's coming out, we've been able to get more people to buy into the fact now that the FDA has fully approved everything and get more people to vaccinate themselves.
Let me turn to the budget because that's a big topic this week for you guys. The mayor obviously supports a form of universal income, $500, 5,000 families for a year. Your view has been that the Black Caucus wants to see that money rechanneled to violence prevention programs. Specifically, what programs would you rather see that money go to?
So essentially, we think that those types of payments should be utilized to help those individuals who are involved in a life of violent crime, to help them get to a point where they're educating themselves better, getting the mental health services that they need, getting the job training and other things that they need to help make their lives more productive. Right now, given the labor market, given everything that's happening, we don't necessarily see that how giving 5,000 families, only 5,000 families, $500 a month is going to help the city of Chicago, whereas we see that public safety and this violence that's occurring, not just on the south and west sides, but throughout our cities as the challenge that we need to rise up and meet. And we believe that those funds could be better directed, utilized toward helping those individuals that are prone to violence or been victims of violence to find a better way of living.
Let me put a face on it. What if you were to get, because it may be that some of the folks who would get that money are in your ward. What would you say to folks who call you and say, Alderman, I needed that $500?
Well, here, 5,000 people in the entire city, and we represent approximately 50,000 people. There'll be several people that are left out. And what we have to ask ourselves, what is the best use of these dollars? Is it better to just hand out the money to those that may want it and not necessarily, I won't say necessarily need it, but there are programs to help people with various needs, be it food, be it shelter, be it, rent, be it health, those types of things. There are other avenues out there for people to get that type of help. The biggest challenge that's facing our city at this point is public safety, and we need to have all hands on deck trying to figure out how we can reduce violence in our city.
Also, I know the Black Caucus, when it comes to the micro grants that would be made, aldermen it's planned that you get $100,000 each per alderman, and you guys, the caucus wants that increased to $250,000 each. So from $5 million to $12.5 million for social service infrastructure improvement. What do you say to people who say, I don't know that I can trust every alderman to do the right thing with this money?
Well, again, it's not just us. I mean, there's also a process that will be undertaken by the city to vet individuals to make sure that they meet the necessary requirements that are for the funding. It's not as if any alderman is just walking around handing out $100 bills. That's not what the intent of this is. The intent of this is to get hyper local and work with people and work with organizations that may not have the big budgets to write the sophisticated grants that some of the larger organizations can, but are doing good work in our communities. Now, mind you, of course, there will be some process will not be as onerous as the traditional processes that we see government generally follow. And again, these are smaller organizations that may not have the manpower, the budgets, and the sophistication to write those complex grant proposals.
I know there's been tension between the Latino caucus and the mayor. They want more representation and such. One of the things the mayor said during meetings with them, I can't use the word she said, I can't say that on television, but I will say that she said, I've given a lot of money to the Black community. What's your take on that?
I think a lot of money has flowed into the African-American community throughout the city, be it through Invest Southwest, be it through violence prevention. When you look at a lot of the money around the CARES Act and subsequent on the ARPA funds, a lot of money will flow in under privileged areas. And again, a lot of those areas, when you look at the racial makeup of those areas, are about African Americans. And again, government has a responsibility to help those that need help the most. And right now, the African American community in the city of Chicago needs help the most.
See if you can give me a simple yes or no. Does the mayor's budget pass coming up?
Yes.
Fair enough. Let's talk about redistricting. That process is underway, and I think you know that Villegas and Latinos, lots more Latinos in the area, they want more representation. From what I understand, you are willing to give up one predominantly Black-controlled ward. Is that true from 18 to 17?
That is not true. There are 18 African-American wards. We can draw 18 African-American wards. And under legal principles, we have a right to do such, and we intend to exercise our right to do such. To the extent that any other protected class in the city of Chicago can create additional wards, but not so at the expense of the African-American community, we have no issues with that. So again, our issue is that we want to maintain the representation that we have. The law is clearly on our side in this matter, and anyone that attempts to do such will definitely be met with great resistance from the African-American community, as well as civil rights organizations.
The mayor has said she's not said whether she's running for re-election, but you've already come out in her camp. Some saying, well, you're doing that because she made you chairman of the city council's committee on contracting oversight and equity. Is that just a thank you?
No, it is not. Those two things have nothing to do with each other. What I do want to state on that notion is that we have watched history in the past where we've had two members of our community go at it and we ended up at a loss. At any point in time where we have someone that is in the seat, someone that is doing the work, I think we ought to support them. Now, I don't agree 100% on everything that the mayor does, but I would rather cast my lot with the current office holder in our community than to go outside of, number one, go outside of our community or get into an intra-community battle with someone else where everyone loses. And that's the position that I maintain. We saw it happen in 1976. We saw it happen in 1989. We do not want to repeat this in 2023.
Alderman Jason Ervin, so much to talk to you about, but we don't have time. So we'll get you back again soon. I appreciate your time. You have a great Sunday, and thank you.
All right, Paul, take it easy.
You will. You as well. And also this week, Alderman Ervin was one of 9 aldermen who put in a good word for former Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Emanuel, of course, working to get confirmed as the next U.S. ambassador to Japan, facing questions from the U.S. Senate this week on the 7th anniversary of the murder of Laquan McDonald. Progressive politicians from Chicago and D.C. have urged senators to reject Emanuel's nomination, but former mayor touted letters of support from McDonald's uncle, the City Council Black Caucus, and others. Ervin told us that if the family could forgive him, so could he. The alderman added there's still more work to be done to rebuild trust between police and the communities that they patrol. Emanuel expected to be confirmed in the coming weeks. And coming up next on WGN TV Political Report, we're going back to Springfield to take a closer look at that Saturday surprise, new congressional maps. Capitol Bureau Chief Mark Maxwell will join me live when we come back.